Hello, all, good evening, and welcome to another session with me, Varun at OdinSchool. And in this session, let us go ahead where we stopped in the previous session. We've already covered a couple of topics like Numpy and what is Python and how is Python essential for us and things like these. And in this session, let us understand what is Pandas. Let us learn the importance of Pandas as a library, how is it useful, and after which we would also be looking at the a small hands-on. And giving you a small understanding about OdinSchool, we at OdinSchool are a technology upskilling platform and we would help you continuously acquire new skills. And guys, you all know me. My name is Varun, and I come with an experience of 7 years, and I've been working as a developer and a trainer. And over these years, I've been working on different platforms and technologies, like ranging from all the front-end languages like HTML, CSS3, JavaScript, to some other languages like Python, machine learning, and I've also worked on SAP. So yeah, this is a small background about me, guys. Now going forward, the agenda of this session will be very crisp and clear. It would be what is Pandas, the use of this library, and we'll also look at a small hands-on using Pandas. So without wasting time, let us go further and let us understand where and how we use this. So to begin with, Pandas is basically a very high-level data manipulation tool which was developed by Wes McKinney. And it is built on top of Numpy package as its key data structure is called the data frame. And also Pandas is built on top of Numpy package, which means that there's a lot of structure of Numpy which is used or which is replicated in Pandas. Guys, this sentence becomes very important here. It is of prime importance for us to know and understand that Pandas is not one independent standalone package. Pandas is dependent, or Pandas is built using concepts or is completely dependent on Numpy, which is another library which we have checked yesterday about. Now, data in Pandas is often used to feed statistical analysis in SciPy. Now we all know what is SciPy, that's scientific Python, all right, and it's also used for plotting functions from matplotlib and machine learning algorithms in scikit. So all these are the places where we would be able to use Pandas for different purposes, right? So this is the first essential that we all should know about Pandas. Now going forward, Pandas is, you might have questions like why do we have to use this, and now what if this statement which we have seen here, it's a very high level data manipulation tool. Now this might have bounced off a bit, but to give you an understanding, when we talk about what is Pandas, or when we talk about words, or when we have technical terminologies like high level data manipulation and all, the meaning is very ground and very basic. It only means that we would be using this for data manipulation, and also you could be you could use this for some advanced data manipulation functionalities also. Basically, Panda makes it so that data analysis tasks would have taken 50 complex lines of code in the past. Now it takes only 5 simple lines. So this is what is basically trying to tell us here. It was very complex earlier, but now it's become pretty easy. And because McKinney already did the heavy lifting, which means that because McKinney already did the code for us, or because he already came up with Pandas, it's no longer required for us to look at, or for us to see those huge codes which are 50 lines and 60 lines. It's actually become pretty easy nowadays, right? And also this was built in 2008 and it became a public project in 2009, and by 2010 some people were independently discovering the tool on internet by seeing McKinney speak about it at data science conferences. So this is the history or evolution of Pandas as a tool, or Pandas as a library. All right, it was initially a tool and then it later became a library which was used in Python for a lot of basic purposes. Now talking about where all we would be using this, here you can see that it can be used in manipulation of the data sets It can be used to install pandas. It can be after you install pandas, it can be used to manipulate the data sets. It can be used for data frames. It can be used to concatenate data frames, find out missing values. Now when you talk about finding out missing values, there are many methods through which we could find out missing values. Now it is not a mandate that whenever you would want to find out a missing value, you only replace them with the mean. That is not true, guys. There are also other ways through which you could find out and replace the missing values with. Then you have concatenating the data frame. Now concatenation is joining of two data sets or joining of two different data frames. So both of them merge, or now again merge is a different command altogether, but both of them get added or joined to form one single data frame. That's what we mean by concatenate. Then you have, it is also used for filtering, and then it is used for a wide range of data sets. You can also use this as a group by function, and it is used in describing a data set as well. Alright, so this is the thing that Python pandas could actually do. Now going forward, what are the features? So this is basically a repeat of what we saw there. It has great data handling capacity. It's used for cleaning up of data set. It aligns, and it's also used for indexing. It can handle missing data. It also using pandas, which is in Python. You could sort it out for filtering or for visualizing or to mask your data. So guys, the range, the requirement of or the skill set or the functions which can be achieved using pandas are huge, and it would be very improper to say that pandas is only used to read the dataset or to clean the dataset. It's also used for manipulation. Manipulation means changing the form. You can add a column, you can remove a column, you can access columns, and you could come up with a new column based on logic. So there is a whole lot of things that you could do once you have understood pandas. So without wasting, guys, I'm pretty sure all of you must be equally anxious to start. So let us get our hands dirty immediately. So here, as you can see, I have opened up my Anaconda Navigator, and I have a couple of codes here which I've just kept open up for us. So you can see I have the 7th and the 8th which I've kept open. So what we would be doing now is, let us start understanding pandas. I have not used any dataset here, guys. As you can see, at least in the first part of the code, there is no dataset. I am just trying to use self-defined, or I'm trying to come up with very small datasets which I've built here on the spot, so that I could relate how these functionalities are used. So there's no dataset anywhere. Alright, and notwithstanding this, in the next part, or in the second part, I have used a data set. Now this is my data set here, as you can see. This is my name, alright, and I've got it in my desktop. So this is the path that I have given, and the name of the data set is empty cars. I'll post the link of the dataset in the comment section below, or in the description section below. You all should be able to find it out there, and you should be able to download the empty cars dataset as well. Now, keeping this dataset, I am now going forward and using this dataset. I am exploring the dataset, understanding the different facets about this dataset. So these are the broad things that we would be doing here. So guys, let us begin. Now, as we've already seen and understood about pandas, pandas is not one single word. It's a combination of two words. The first one is panel, the second one is data, panel data. That's how it's come up. And it is a multi-dimensional data which involves measurement over time. Alright, it was created in 2015 by Wes McKinney. We've already seen the name, and it features you can use this for series, object, and data frame. It aligns data. You can slice your tables or your columns or your data set. You can use this for indexing. You can also use this for subsetting. We all know what indexing is. I would want to give it a feature of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, an index, so that can be done. It handles missing data very efficiently. Pandas is great at it. And then you can see it groups by. You can also use group by as a functionality. It is used in time series function. It is used to reshape really heavy data sets. And you can also access, you could label your access functionality or hierarchically. You could also merge and join. So these are some very basic features which we're talking about here. And also, notwithstanding these, there are a lot of other functions which Python pandas can be used for. What we're seeing here is just a part of it. Going forward, I have been using a small difference or a small use case here. It's not even a use case. It's more over a technical difference, is what you could say. Now, whenever you compare pandas versus numpy, you can say that pandas is good to go for anything which is greater than 500,000 rows. But if it is less than 500,000 rows, then you might want to use numpy. So here we could say that pandas can be used when your data set is huge, or in other words, you can use when your data set is in real time, right? And even notwithstanding that, it does not mean that if your data set is small, or if your data set is kind of medium sized, or if it is not very huge, even in that case you can use pandas. So doesn't mean that anything which is less than 500,000 rows you cannot use pandas for it. So guys, let us not come into a negative or a wrong conclusion thereby. Okay, now going forward, here as you can see, I have series object in pandas. So that is what I would be starting with. Alright, and guys, I had a query in yesterday's session which I was able to see in the comment section below. I was asked, how do we come up with these headings, or how do we mark them in blue or black or whatever. So here as you can see, I would create a small line. I would give it a name of heading 2, and here I can go to my code. You have a drop down as you could see, and you can convert this to a markdown. When you do that, you no longer have a number. You can see that it's gone. Or you could also convert this to a heading, and when you do that, it would automatically come up into a hash with a blue color on the top, or a blue colored font, and it will automatically look like a heading. So these are the things that you could use. Alright, so now that we have understood how to mark a heading or how to do that, let us go forward and let us go forward and start working on pandas. So in order to do that, just like yesterday when we were working on numpy, it was numpy import numpy as np, but in today's session it would be import pandas as pd. Alright, so that's exactly what I did in my line 1. And after you can see what I've done here, that is importing pandas as pd. In my next step, I'm taking my data set and considering a 5, 2, 3, 4. So these are the different elements that I'm using in my data set, and here I'm allotting it a series data of series is a functionality that I'm using here. And when I give it a series functionality, you can see that it would come up with an index. Now here, let me comment all these. Let's change this and we'll see how it would make a difference. Alright, so now what I'm doing is, here I have commented the line below, and now you see that the index we have ABCD, but now when I execute this, you see you have an index of 0, 1, 2, 3. Now what is 0, 1, 2, 3? It is the index, and we all know that our index in Python begins with 0. It does not begin with 1, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Right? So I hope you have understood what we do when we use series. Now if I might want to overlap this or change this, right, in that case I would replace this with an index property or an index feature which we have within pd.series, and I would give it an index is equal to abcd. And when I do that, let me just delete this and this. So now let me re-execute this once again, and you can see that in my index I have A, B, C and D, right? So this is the first step that we are doing. So here I have 5, 2, 3 and 4, which is entered in my data, and here in index I am having A, B, C, D because I have entered the same as a property. Alright, now what I'm doing, now how is my data getting populated is I'm considering a variable series 1, and within series 1 I'm passing my functionality which is series, and I'm passing also my data set, and my data set is a variable data which has 4 values, and that's the reason why I'm having these 4 values here, and it's exactly the same data that I'm using here also in series 1, but I have overwritten this with index also to be as A, B, C and D. So this is how I'm coming up with my very first object, or with my very first line of code in Pandas. Now that we have an idea about how to create a variable, let us now understand how do we create a data frame. And in order to create a data frame, it's very easy. All I would be doing is I would be taking my data is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. I would be taking another variable, that is df, which is a short form for data frame. Df is equal to pd dot data frame. Now this is a command here, guys, or this is a syntax. Now when I do a data frame, it would automatically bring the data to me in a data frame format. Now if you can note the difference between the outputs of my line 1 and line 2, here you can see that I have this, but it's not in a table format, but here you can see that I'm able to access individual rows. Do we have that feature here? No. So data frame, you can technically, in a very casual offshoot language, you could say that it is more of a table, or you can access lists, and you can access different things using a data frame. Now going forward here, okay, all the while when we were talking about how to use different functionalities, it could be a series or it could be a data frame, you must have had a query, that is how would you know what are the different properties that are available within each of these functionalities, right? And in order to do that, you have a small help feature in Python. You can give it a question mark followed by the name of the library followed by the name of the function. So it is pd.merge, and you can notice, or you would notice, that when I hit an enter on this, it would give me all the features and properties like how, on, left, suffixes. So all these are different properties that I would be able to use whenever I use my pd.merge. So all these are properties that I have within merge, right? So this is how it works. And also here you can see that you would be having an explanation of each and every property. Each and every property that you have mentioned here, or that is mentioned here, would be given a description just a bit below it. Alright, you could also change this for different functions, like we were using a data frame. So let me copy this, and when you paste this here and when you hit execute this, you can see what are the different functionalities available within a data frame. So we have seen how to use an index, right? I gave it an index, a square bracket followed by a comma b comma c comma d. Alright, and you have an answer about it, and you can see that data structure also contains different values, okay, like different labeled axes. Okay, so this is what we do, or this is what we use data frame for. Alright, so now let's go further. Right, so here now let us see how to create a data frame using a dictionary. We all know what is a dictionary, and when we talk about dictionary, it has a key and it has a value, or it's also called as a key value pair. That's how the relationship between both of them is generally described as, and every key or every individual element within a key would have a value against it. So here you can see I am trying to understand how many trucks, cars and bikes I have. So probably I have some toys to play, that is trucks, cars and bikes, and I'm just noting the count of each of these here. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a variable with the name xyz, and within that I'm considering, or I'm taking two columns. The first column is toys and the second column is count. So within toys I'm using truck, cars and bikes, and within count I'm using 10, 20 and 15. Now when I'm entering values against these, you can see that it is coming out also as a data frame and also as a dictionary, right? So it is being both right now. Then how to create a data frame using a series. So this is the next question that we have. So here I'm considering two values, that is 6, 12, and within series also you have an option, or you have a property called index, and within series if you don't give this property of index, it will come up with 0 and 1, which is the default indexing for numbers. Right guys, I hope I have been able to explain things to you, and if not, please let me know in the comment section below and I will address your queries at the earliest. Alright, so that's the point. Now going forward, you can see this is also done. So you have A and B overwritten in index. Alright, so now going forward, I have another set of arrays that I'm considering. Now we are not considering a data frame, we're done with data frame, we're done with series, now we're using an array. Alright, so now when we talk about an array here, I'm considering two values of 25,000 and 32,000, which are, we'll talk about what these numbers are later. And I'm also considering two names. One is Varun, which is me, and one is Rahul. It could be some random guy. Rahul is a very famous name. So using both of these, now what I'm doing is I'm considering a data frame, and in this data frame I'm taking two columns. The first column being name and the second column being salary, which is exactly the column names that you're able to see here. And here also I'm using small n and a small s. So as you can see, these are the two columns and exactly they are printed the way. And what I'm doing is I'm considering a Numpy array, and when I consider a Numpy array of first, that is, I'm trying to tell my system that I want my first array. Now guys, please pause your system for a while. You have the question in front of you, you have the answer in front of you. Now you please tell me, when I press on or when I select Numpy or first array, which of these would I have in my name column? Would it be this column, or would it be 25,000, or would it be this Varun? So I hope now you know the answer. You would be having Varun. Why? Because this would become my 0th array and this would become my first array. I hope it makes sense to all of us. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm trying to come up with two values or two columns within which I have two values each. And you can see I have my name against my salary, and I have Rahul's name against his salary. And yes, he's got more salary than me, and this is what is the thing which I've now to change. So now how to perform merge operation. Now let us talk about merge, guys. So here, as you can see, again I'm using the same command, that's import pandas as pd, and then I'm considering 3 players in my player column, 3 points in my point column, and 3 titles in my title column. Right guys, it's not very difficult to understand. It's very simple, right? We got 3 players and their titles. Okay, likewise I'm also creating another data frame which is df2, and within df2 I'm again taking three columns, that's player, power and title. So the only difference between first column or the first table df1 and df2 is I have two same columns and one new column. And what are the two same columns? You can see I have player there and I have player here. I have title there and I have title here also. But I have points there and I have power here. I hope the change has been noticed. It's a very minor thing. Now let us understand why I have taken two tables like this with almost all the names being same and two columns being different. So what we'll do now is, in order to understand that, I would now use an operation which is called merge. And what is merge, guys? I'm using df1, that is data frame 1. And I want to merge my first data frame, that is df1, with df2. Please understand, it's a very simple thing. So here I'm using, or I'm merging my df1 merge with df2. But then whenever you're merging a column or whenever you're merging two data frames, guys, it is very important you to tell to the system you would want to merge on the basis of which column, right? So here I'm telling my system that I want it to merge on my column which is player. So all the values that I have would be merged with, by keeping player column as the center of reference or as the point of reference. And based on this, you would be having other columns which are populated. So now let us go ahead and compare with the column and understand. So when I merge my player and when I do an inner merge, you can see the only value that is common between df1 and df2 is player 1. You have player 1, 2, 3 here and you have player 1, 5, 6 here. So the only player common in both the places is player 1. So player 1, you have punch game 1. So again game 1 is also constant, guys, and you have 8. So you have player 1, 8, punch and game 1. So you would have 4 values, and now let us go ahead and cross check. You have the same values here. Yes, you have title X and title Y, which can be removed when you use df1 dot merge. Yes, it's a very simple operation. And here you can see you have 4 columns, exactly what you've seen. So the problem of which column should get merged, or how will the merge happen, or what happens when you merge, I hope is now resolved and understood. Now what we saw here is a classical example of inner merge, which means that there are other variants of merge that are yet to be handled or understood. So let us go ahead and understand them as well. Okay, so here you can see I have merge. Okay, now what I'm doing is in left merge, I'm using df1 merge with df2. Again, the column would be player, but I'm using a left merge now. And when I do a left merge, you can see I have player 1, 2, and 3. All of them from my df1 column. And the same values are checked for df2. And only because we have player 1, which is common between df1 and df2, we have these values populated. We do not have power, or we do not have another other values in player 2 and player 3 because it's not available in df2, right there. So here you have df2. You see we have only player 1, so only these values are common. So player 5 or player 2 and player 3, they do not have values which are common here also. So that is the reason why you are noticing NaN values in the second or in the other two rows. Now going forward, now I'm using a right merge. And when we do a right merge, it's very obvious that if you're doing a left merge, you would have it on the df1. But when you're doing a right merge, you would have it on df2. So here you can see I'm doing the right merge df1, merge it with df2. It's the same like how we did on the top. I'm not changing this from df2 to df1. It's exactly df1 dot merge. All that changes is this part, that is how are you planning to merge. That is it. Otherwise, what happens in left or right is all just the same. Right guys, so here as you can see, I'm using merge df2 on my player, and that's a left merge in line number 6. But in line number 21, I'm using df merge or df2 on my player using right merge. So there's a bit of difference between both of them. Now going forward about merge, this is an outer merge. Now, when we do outer merge, you can see that we would be having all values and all values, as in all rows and all columns from both the data frames getting merged. That guys, you can see you have player 1, 2, 3, and then you also have player 5 and 6. Repetitions have been removed. Please notice that. All right, and then after that, what am I doing in my next step? In my next step, I'm calculating or checking the points. We have 1 2 3 in the first column, but we don't have 5 and 6 in the first column, so you would see that you have NaN. And wherever you have values for player 5 and player 6, and because they are not in the first column, you would see that these values have NaN. It's very simple. It's just like a table of missing values, and wherever you don't have values, you just leave them blank. Right, guys, I hope that's understood. Now that we've covered merge as a statement, let us now go on to the next part, which is join. All right, there's a very thin difference between merge and join. When you talk about join, it would also check the common values which are in your data set. Okay, so now what I'm doing here is, you see, whenever you're working on join, okay, let us just understand that while we are on the process of working. So here I'm taking 3 columns, that is player, point, and title. All right, and then another 3 columns here, player, power, and title. Right, I hope you understood the difference between that and this. It is the same player 1, 2, 3 on the top and player 1, 5, 6 at the bottom. This column is entirely different. This is point and this is power. Otherwise, this is title and this is title as well. Right now, after I have them, I'm just printing them in my data frame format. All right. And also, please note the index values are also a bit different. It is L1, L2, L3 here, and it is L2, L3, L4 here. Not very different from each other, but still, yes, they are a bit different though. Now I'm using my inner join, guys, and when I'm using my inner join and I want my df3 to do the inner join with df4, you can see that because player 1 is common between both of them and only player 2 and player 3 are missing, only these values would get populated. So let us just go ahead and cross check. So you can see I have only player 2 and player 3. The rest have been eliminated. The rest as in player 1 has been eliminated. Now talking about left join, it is you would be having player 1, 2, 3. But guys, please pause the video and just try to recollect what is it that we've discussed about left merge just a while back. Even left join works almost on the same principle. Just that in left join you would be having your columns or your table or your tables from the values coming up from your left. All right. So you can see you have player, points, title, and then players power titles. So all the values and all the columns have now been populated here for or against or towards the first player, all right, or towards the first player column, which means that towards this. Now, the second one is outer join, and when you talk about outer join, you would notice that you have all the columns player 1, 2, 3, and because it is DF3 with DF4, you can see that you have player 1, 2, and 3 with their points, with their game, or with their title. But because these are the values from the second data frame, you would see that here you have certain NaN values available here. All right. So merge and join are very easy to understand. Just that you would have to work on them a couple of times, or I would say multiple times. So what are the two types of statements we have? You have outer merge, inner merge, right? You have outer join, inner join, left join, things like this. So all these become very important when you're preparing for an interview, guys. So yeah, please keep them noted. And then finally, we have something called as concat or concatenation. Concatenation is basically joining of two data frames. As simple as that. Here, it does not take any logics or anything into consideration. It just joins them with whatever it thinks is right. Simple. So you can see I have player, players, points, power, title, and titles. I have all the columns that I probably used. But then, as you keep checking the values, I don't have anything in capital player for these three. Likewise, I don't have anything in players for the first three. The same is for points, which because I don't have values, because of which I don't have values the last three. So guys, it's very easy and it's very straightforward to understand. All that you have to do is practice a bit and keep your time distinct for hands-on, or make a plan and try to understand what all are the functions you have, how do you start working on Anaconda Navigator, and what are the different ways you could come up with to understand or to work on some very basic functionalities. Right, all these are the need of the hour. And if you're looking for a career, or if you're looking for uh, a job in the field of data science, then I would say what we're doing right now happen or form the core essentials, or they form the core base of this module. All right. Now let us go on to the next one, wherein I am trying to import a data set. We'll analyze the data set and we'll see why I'm using this data set. Now, guys, here we all know what is the abbreviation or the definition or the split of pandas. It is panel data, and we are importing pandas as PD. Now that I have done, the next step I would be doing is pd dot read CSV. I'm using a CSV file here. Now, what is a CSV file? The abbreviation of CSV is comma separated values. Now, whenever I would work on Python, it's not necessary that I use a CSV file only, but in most of the cases, I would prefer using a CSV file, right? There's nothing to do with right or wrong, or CSV is the most recommended file. You have a lot of variants. You have TSV file, that is tab separated values, and you have Excel files in Excel assets. So you have a huge range of huge varieties. All right. So it is not at all true that CSV is the only file and the most appropriate file that can be used. Okay, now going ahead, I am now using pd.readCSV, and when I'm doing this, I'm giving it a path. Now, guys, when you're entering a path, you would notice that whenever you give a path, you would be having forward slashes. I would want you to remove each and every forward slash and change them to backward slash, as you're able to see here. And once they're changed into backward slashes, now you can come onto this page, and now you can uh, you know, actually, after you have given the data set, after you have done that, you could now come on this page and start understanding or start exploring your data set after the step is done. So here, what I'm doing is, now that I have come up with the read CSV, which is a part of Pandas library, I am now using cars to print my output, and here goes my output. So you can see I have 31 rows and I'm not sure how many columns. It's down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you see I have 12 columns, which is 0 to 11. And guys, so now let us just work on some basic functionalities for or towards this data set, right? So what I would want to do in step one is I would want to check the type. You know, what is the type of this data set? And as you can see, the type is cars. Sorry, the type of cars is data frame. It is pandas.code.frame.dataframe. At the end of the day, it is in data frame format. You know, just to give you an answer in one liner, it is a data frame format. Now, in the second line, I'm using cars.head. Guys, I'm sure we've not covered about what is cars.head or anything about head. So, head gives you the top six values, that's 0 to 5. And when you talk about the tail, it gives you the last five values. Alright, so you can see I have values like 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Simple, end of discussion. As simple as that. Alright, now I would want to check how many rows and columns I have. So you can see I have 32 rows and 12 columns. 12 columns is something we've checked. Let us just cross verify about the total number of. So here you have 31 and starting with 0. So guys, 0 to 31 is 32 and I'm pretty sure you all know that. So here I have values printed from 32, which is my number of rows, and 12, which is my number of columns. Now going ahead, I would also tell you or you know, we'll also look at some very important core geometric functions. The first one is mean, the second one is median, the third one is mode, the fourth one is standard deviation. STD stands for, or STD is abbreviated as standard deviation. Then the next one I have is maximum, after which I have my minimum values, and then I would want to use my count off and finally describe. So let us now go ahead and check each of these in an order. So what you're able to see here is also more of a correlation is what you can say. So here, when you look at the mean of MPG is 20, the mean of CYL or cylinder is 6. So guys, that's how the values get populated. So here this is the standard deviation. Standard deviation, what do we mean by that? I would not tell this to you today. I would request the users or the viewer to pause the video and type in the comment section below about what is a standard deviation. And then we know what is the minimum value now. 25% of the value, 50% of the value, 75%, and the maximum value. All these are given here. Now, what is this count in that case? Count is the total number of values you have in MPG as a column. We all know that it has all the values have 32 rows against each column. So I guess I hope that's very straight and very easy to understand. This is no huge logic here. And as I already asked all of you a couple of times, if you have any queries, please post about that query in the comment section below. All right. So this is what we have to do with pandas, and this is what we have to do with Numpy. So we've already covered how to do Numpy yesterday. So guys, I hope now you have understood how we could use series and object and data frame. We can align data, we can slice data. Also, before we call it, there is another source code which I would want to talk to you about, which would lay foundation for the next session. So this is the same data set that I have here, which is empty cars. And in the next session, let us see how to change the column names using the rename function. Let us see also how to fill NA values or check NA values, with the mean value. or we'll see how to drop unnecessary columns which are not required for us. We would also check the correlation matrix using CORR as a function. We'll also come up with how to work on info as a function. ILOC is identifying the required row or the required column using integer location or using you know the location of the column. So all these are what we will be looking in the next session. So guys, still there's a lot of stuff that we would have to explore or that we would have to check using pandas. Also, we would see how to use filter function. Also, we would see how to use group by values. We still have, how to come up with or how to call a series of columns, a range of columns, five different columns. So all these are yet to be explored, guys. All right. So in this session, I hope you have understood how to work on pandas and what pandas is all about, and how to read a data set, and also how to handle a data set. And thereby, I hope you also understood that when we are using a data set, pandas is very, very essential for us. I hope you also understood pandas can also be used to convert a data set, or pandas can also be used to convert a data set into any requested or any required. For example, I want my data set to be converted into data frame only, or probably I want it to be an array, I want it to be in a list, I want it to be in a dictionary. So all these conversions are also possible. You can convert this from one form to another form. All these are also still pending. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed the session, and I hope you also understood what is pandas, how is this library very useful for us. I hope you also understood the different uses of this library, and now that we've also done hands-on, I'm sure that we've seen these, how it works. You must now have a better idea about what pandas is and how do we use pandas in the field of data science. So, guys, I would like to thank each and every person out there for your patience and for being there and for your queries and for your interest. Do not forget to hit the like button, as that will push us to do a lot more videos. And also do hit the subscribe button followed by the share, because sharing is caring. And the moment you hit on subscribe button, you would be having access to a huge range of videos. You would be having access to a plethora of videos to choose from. And also, now that there's a lot of content yet to be uploaded, and there's a lot of knowledge yet to be exchanged between us, when you hit the subscribe button, you will be notified about it at the earliest. So guys, do not go away anywhere. Stay tuned. This is me, Varun, your trainer, your mentor, signing off. Have a great day and all the very best.